This is section 8.1, part B, interpreting confidence levels and confidence intervals. Confidence level is when we say that 95% confident is shorthand for actually saying 95% of all samples of the given size from this population will result in an interval that captures the unknown parameter. So basically when we're saying we're 95% confident, we're saying there's a 95% chance that if we take a sample of the same size, we will capture the true unknown parameter for that population. For our confidence interval, to interpret the C% confidence interval for an unknown parameter, we say we are C% confident that the interval from blank to blank captures the actual value of the population parameter. So we could say we're 95% confident that the interval from 20 to 25 captures the actual value of the whatever you're talking about. So this could be the mean of number of pairs of shoes someone owns. The confidence level tells us how likely it is that the method we are using will produce an interval that captures the population parameter if we use it many times. However, in practice, we tend to calculate only a single confidence interval for a given situation. You do need to be cautious. The confidence level does not tell us the chance that a particular confidence interval captures the population parameter. Instead, the confidence interval gives us a set of plausible values for the parameter itself. So the confidence level in the mystery mean example, roughly 95%, tells us that about 95% of simple random samples of size 16 for Mr. Shields' mystery population, the interval of x bar plus or minus 10 will contain the population mean. Mr. Shields' simple random sample of 16 values gave us a mean of 240.79. The approximate 95% confidence interval is 240.79 plus or minus 10. We say we are about 95% confidence that the interval from 230.79 to 250.79 captures the mystery mean. Be sure you understand the basis for our confidence. There are only two possibilities. The interval from 230.79 to 250.79 contains the population mean, and that the interval does not contain the population mean. Our simple random sample was one of the few samples for which x bar is not within 10 points of the true mean. Only about 95% of the samples result in a confidence interval that fails to capture mu, or the population mean. We cannot know whether our sample is one of the 95 for which the interval of x bar plus or minus 10 captures the mean of the population, or whether it's one of the unlucky 5%. The statement that we are 95% confident that the unknown mu lies in the interval is shorthand for saying that we got these numbers by a method that gives us correct results 95% of the time. What is the probability that our 95% confidence interval captures the parameter? It is not 95%. Because we execute the command mean, random, normal, the value, we took a standard deviation of 20 and we took 16 samples, we had a 95% chance of getting a sample mean that's within 2 standard deviations of the sample of the mystery mean, which would lead to a confidence interval that captures our mean for the entire population. Once we have chosen a random sample, the sample mean x bar either is or isn't within 2 standard deviations of the mean. And the resulting confidence interval either does or does not contain the mean. After we construct a confidence interval, the probability that it captures the population parameter is either 1, it does, or 0, it doesn't. We interpret a confidence level, and confidence intervals in much the same way, whether we are estimating a population mean, proportion, or some other parameter. So in late 2009, the Pew Internet and American Life Project asked a random sample of 2,253 U.S. adults, do you ever use Twitter or another service to share updates about yourself or to see updates about others. Remember, this was from 2009. Of the sample, 19% said yes. According to the Pew results, the results were 95% confidence interval is 0.167 and 0.213. Interpret this confidence interval and the confidence level. So your confidence interval, we would say we are 95% confident that the interval from 0.167 to 0.213 contains the actual proportion P of U.S. adults who use Twitter or other services for updates. Our confidence level says in 95% of the possible samples of 2,253 U.S. adults, the resulting confidence interval would capture the actual population proportion of U.S. adults who use Twitter or another service for updates. For your AP exam, on a given problem, you may be asked to interpret the confidence interval, the confidence level, or both. Be sure you understand the difference. The confidence level describes the long-run capture rate of the method. So you're saying if you take a bunch of samples of the same size, what would happen? And the confidence interval gives a set of plausible values for the parameter. So that's when you say, I'm 90 or 95% or whatever the percent is, sure, confident that the interval from here to here will capture the true mean or proportion or whatever parameter you are discussing. Confidence intervals are statements about parameters. In this previous example, it would be wrong to say we are 95% confident that the interval from 0.167 to 0.213 contains the sample proportion of U.S. adults. Why? Because we know that the sample proportion was 0.19, and we definitely know that it's in the interval. Likewise, in the mystery mean example, it would be wrong to say that 95% of the values between 230.79 to 250.79, whether we are referring to the sample or the population. All we can say is, based on Mr. Shields' sample, we believe that the population mean is somewhere between 230.79 and 250.79. So let's check our understanding. How much does the fat content of brand X hot dogs vary? To find out, researchers measure the fat content in grams of a random sample of 10 brand X hot dogs. A confidence interval, a 95% confidence interval for the population standard deviation is 2.84 to 7.55. Interpret the confidence interval. We are 95% confident that the interval from 2.87 to 7.55 grams captures the true standard deviation of the fat content of brand X hot dogs. Interpret the confidence level. In 95% of all possible samples of 10 brand X hot dogs, the resulting confidence interval would capture the true standard deviation. True or false? The interval from 2.84 to 7.55 has a 95% chance of containing the actual population standard deviation. Justify your answer. This is false. The probability is either 1, the interval does contain the true standard deviation, or 0, it does not.